What?
Why are you shaking your head?
You're welcome.
What's up, Fantasy Points? We are back for the DFS Cage Match Week 9 edition. We are already to Week 9 of the NFL season. For those of you who have not been paying attention to the show, we're going to be drafting teams on DraftKings. Going to be doing a snake draft. So, 1, 2, 3, and then the person who has the third pick gets the fourth pick, et cetera, until we fill out our DraftKings lineups. It's always me and Jake Tribbey. And then we have a rotating guest. And tonight we have Pat from the Fantasy Dog Pound, does great best ball content, a lot of stuff on Underdog. We're getting him to play some DraftKings here. Pat, I don't know how much DraftKings do you typically play?
Dude, I'm out of my element for sure. I love the cage match because like Al Smith brings me back to those vibes. I used to watch Al Smith's content, and he would famously do the cage match, as well as like I would play in that 3-entry max, the rake free contest there, the Smiths gang. But yeah, I'm not fully in tuned with the DFS, but heavily involved on Underdog, like you said.
Yeah, and you're used to the drafting style, so it'll come naturally to you. You just because it is still a salary cap game. That's the one thing that's different, is you still need to be paying attention to, like, okay, how much salary do I have left over? How can I make this work with the rest of my lineup? Which you don't have to do that on other platforms. We are also costumed today. So Jake, I think you have the you spent the most time on your costume. So why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about your costume?
Yeah, obviously most time is relative. It took me probably about 5 minutes to put together, but I am Kendall Roy from the hit TV show Succession, which is one of my all-time favorites, if not my favorite all-time show. Big fan of dramas. Thought the acting was fantastic, cinematography, the music. I mean, what an incredible show. And I get to be what is probably my favorite character from that show, Kendall Roy, as I desperately fight for a cage match win today.
Yeah, do you think that you relate, because he is such an entitled character on that show, and you always feel like you're so entitled to these, oh my god, my lineup projects so well, I'm entitled to this win. Do you feel like you relate to Kendall Roy's character in that way?
Yeah, I wouldn't say that I relate in that way. I probably do relate more in that, like, an older person who he is close with continues to just really screw him over at every turn, and that's what Neil has done with his fraudulent late swaps, his very questionable picks that may or may not be within the rules. We're still not sure. I'd say that's probably a better example.
Listen, you are not real people. I play to win the game, okay? Pat, I know we gave you 4 minutes to come up with a costume, and so far I'm not super impressed. Why don't you tell us what you came up with?
Well, the kid's a dinosaur, so I'm not gonna be a dinosaur for Halloween, not yet. But we got the Daddy-saurus t-shirt. I mean, with 4 minutes, maybe 6 minutes, I could have turned into a dinosaur, but the t-shirt is all you're getting today, Neil.
All right, that's fair, and I am, of course, aging hipster Paul Bunyan. I think is pretty clearly what I am today. I gave myself also about 4 minutes, switched my flannel and my hat, so I'm a hipster because I'm wearing a hat with myself on it. I don't know if that works as hipster. I'm just making shit up here, but I got the Paul Bunyan flannel on. I've got the beard, etc. So that's what I'm going as today. It's what I went for on Saturday for Halloween also. So that's just this is my level of costume. It's what I'm willing to do. So that's what I am today. One aspect of this show that we have not talked about is we also play for charity. So every week, each of us chooses a charity, and Fantasy Points will donate $100 to the winner's charity of choice. So up on the screen right now is Healing Hearts Rescue. This was my charity last week. Spoiler alert, yeah, I won again. So my charity getting $100 from Fantasy Points. This is the rescue that I got my dog from here in Minnesota. Just a great rescue. And I'm not really changing much this week. I'm going to a different rescue. Rough Start Rescue. I have a friend who works with Rough Start Rescue. It's another great animal rescue here in Minnesota. So just, I'm a huge dog person. So just going with the dog charities back-to-back weeks this week. Local, doing great work here in Minnesota. Pat, you went with the Wounded Warrior Project. Do you want to tell me a little bit about why you chose Wounded Warriors?
Yeah, sure. We got Veterans Day around the corner, so I thought it was pretty fitting. And those that give the ultimate sacrifice or seriously injured, wounded, and need help getting back on their feet, I think it's kind of perfectly fitting. So definitely putting in some extra effort on this lineup, boys.
Love that. Love that. Good choice here for Pat. And Jake, you are of course going back to Beloved Asheville. This was your choice last week. Do you want to remind us what Beloved Asheville is about?
Yeah, just a charity dedicated to helping people in the Asheville area who obviously now need it more than ever. Really love it. It's a great local grassroots charity. You know, I did a good amount of research last week before selecting this charity, and pretty much everything that I saw was, they're very efficient. It's all local volunteers. It's grassroots. So definitely an awesome charity, and supports a really good local cause.
Perfect. Probably the best choice you made last week was this charity. Probably the best choice you're going to make this week as well. Good choice there. Tyler is in chat, and first of all, I want to say hello to Meg from Fansbeat Network. Likes our costumes. Thank you, Meg. Appreciate that. Tyler, of course, we are about to review Tyler's lineup, and Pat is going to have the benefit of being the one who gets to review it. Tyler says, the haters and losers, of which there are many, have said my score was as small as my hair. Wrong. I have the biggest hair and scores recount. That is funny, Tyler. No, I'm not dressed as an old man. And let's get to the reviewing Tyler's lineup. Well, while he is here, Tyler's lineup gets reviewed first because it was, of course, the last place lineup last week. Emo Cowboy, just 101 points, 59 points out of first place last week. Tyler, as the guest, you get to review the previous guest lineup, and man, that's a lot of snowflakes. How do you feel about this lineup?
I got you. I mean, Tyler almost had to go pants down. He almost didn't get to triple figures there. The double stack there with Miami. I think Ty was just hoping one would hit. And they both really don't get there. So that's tragic. Caleb forgot how to play football after the bye. It looked like week one Caleb again. So yeah, the Komet one catch, it's tragic. You hate to see that, Ty. No one could have seen that coming, but the double tight end start, man, I don't know, Ty. We gotta at least just stick you on underdog and keep you there, I think.
Cole Kmet, I mean, just like you look at the fantasy point per dollar in a 3-man contest, you're taking Cole Kmet in a double tight end lineup. I mean, what are we doing here, Tyler? I don't usually roast the previous guest, but because it's Tyler, I feel like I got to roast him just a little bit.
Njoku was his best pick.
If only Tyler drafted Bears backup right guard Doug Kramer, who probably had more expected fantasy points than Cole Kmet, given he had to carry at the 2-yard line.
Yeah, that is accurate. Jake, I mean, congratulations. You got to second place this week. This is like the third time all year you've been in the top 2. So really nice performance for you last week, Jake. How do you feel about the lineup?
Yeah, so I mean, let me take you back to around 4 p.m. on Sunday. I was sitting at about 135. I had Tyler Lockett, I had DJ Moore, I had Brock Bowers left. I mean, it was over. The game was over. I was ready for my second win in a row. It was going to be a new era in the DFS cage match. Unfortunately, Tyler Lockett did absolutely nothing. When I was doing my lineup review, just a more general DFS lineup review this week, I noticed a lot of sharps were on Tyler Lockett. I mean, there was no DK Metcalf. He was really the only value sort of in that range. And, he certainly popped in projections, did not pop in real life, did absolutely nothing. DJ Moore, the entire Bears offense, again, turned into a pumpkin. I probably would have been better off drafting Bears backup right guard Doug Kramer. And then, I mean, Brock Bowers, the usage was there again, but, just really couldn't get over the hump. And, what was just an incredible schematic and on paper matchup. Certainly could argue defenses are keying in on him a bit more with the, just given the lack of talent in that offense. But I think outside of my 4 p.m. players, the rest of my lineup was really, really strong. I had the Jameis Winston, Cedric Tillman stack, which was, pretty much the nuts outside of maybe like a Bo Nix, Courtland Sutton stack. My running backs were awesome. Even James Conner, didn't really post a monster score, still saw awesome usage. He seeded 1 target and 1 carry to, other backfield members all week. He's at 92% of backfield expected fantasy points over the last 2 weeks, which is just incredible usage. Yeah, unfortunately, none of these guys got me over the top. It was quite a difficult week for me in the cage match, I have to say.
Before we get to my lineup, let's just talk about this Washington defense has been like not as bad as I expect them to be the past few weeks. I don't know. DJ Moore didn't get there. Cole Kmet didn't get there. They just like through the passing game. We keep on expecting teams to have a lot of success against the Commanders through the air. We just haven't been seeing it. What do you guys think of that? Is that something that's going to stick, or is it just kind of a fluky? There's a lot of variance in football.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was a special game, like rookie versus rookie. I really just don't think Caleb showed up, and
Yeah.
it was really bad for Caleb there. Even if like Swift was helping, sustain drives, it just came down to Caleb sort of not playing foosball.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. I actually just pulled up schedule adjusted fantasy points per game allowed. I'm looking since week 4. Washington is the single toughest matchup for opposing quarterbacks, which is pretty insane. They're also incredibly tough against wide receivers in the sample, bottom 5 against tight ends as well. Still, fairly weak to running backs on the ground. I think, a lot of this probably is variance, but I think we also shouldn't go out of our way to target the Washington defense at this point.
Like if you look at, it's interesting. It's definitely something to keep an eye on. But I agree, like it's sort of like previous bias of past years of not being strong against the pass and sort of making those, mid-season adjustments now. We've seen it. So yeah, maybe a little soft fade.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking. It's like they were such an obvious target all of last year. And then the beginning part of this year was like, well, teams against Washington just continue going off. I kind of thought all year we're just going to be taking whoever the top receiver is against Washington with the quarterback, and the stack is just going to hit all year. And now it's a little bit scarier than it once was. Just an interesting note there. We'll see if it holds up. Of course, there can only be one winner in the cage match, and for the 5th time in the past 6 weeks, is that right? Is it 5 and 6? Yeah, 5th time in the past 6 weeks. It is me. It is me who took down the W. Got Jalen Hurts at quarterback. 35 fantasy points out of my quarterback. I mean, that is just amazing. It doesn't even matter that the Titans got 0 for me at defense. Detroit putting up 52 on them. Totally. Jalen Hurts goes off. J.K. Dobbins, was good as expected. Breece Hall, man, he was top point per dollar projected running back on the slate. A big downer for me there in the early games. Drake London, one of the top point per dollar. Like all of my best point per dollar studs let me down. And then the guys going off were Kate Otten, my 101 pick last week. Pat, I assume you did not.
I heard.
Week, but I did take
No,
Kate Otten with the 101. Caught a lot of flack for it. Both Jake and Tyler giving me shit for taking Kate Otten with the 101.
The chat did not care for it either.
Dude,
yeah,
Baker was surprisingly still on his game without his top 2 weapons, and Kate Otten filled in nicely. I think it might have been a little chalk to have Kate Otten up that high, at least on underdog drafts. But 3,500, I think that was a nice go back to for the 2nd week in a row.
Yeah, it's hard to beat the price when the projected volume is just so good. I played a lot of Kate Otten in my DFS tournament teams. The Sims absolutely loved him this past week, and that did kind of help me get over my mental block of thinking he's absolutely terrible at football, which I think would have prevented me from, if we did that draft 1,000 times, I would have never selected Kate Otten 101. But he's been playing good ball. I think I need to revise that take a little bit. Kate Otten doesn't completely suck. He's at least an average NFL tight end. I'm ready to say it.
And he's always had pretty good route participation, as they say. I don't want to say usage necessarily, but the route participation has always been there.
It's just tough to get behind a guy who, for the first few years of his career looked horrendous after the catch and averaged 1 yard per route run.
It's true.
I hear you. He's playing right now how we wish Jake Ferguson was playing.
Yeah. No kidding.
The other thing that really pushed me over the edge is Lad McConkey just went off. This is what really sunk Jake and sent me to the top. It was Lad McConkey coming through with 2 touchdowns and over 100 yards just towards the end of the game, going completely off. So that was fun for me watching Lad McConkey go off and take me to the promised land. I also did have a second time this year. I've had Jalen Hurts at quarterback, and I've been forced to come off of another player. So I had earlier in the year, it was George Kittle was out. I left $1,500 on the table or something like that and put in Dallas Goedert. Dallas Goedert went off as my replacement player a few weeks back. Once again this week, I had T. Higgins was in there. No injury designation as of when we did the show. And then I think later that night or the next day, T. Higgins turned up questionable. Might not have been
injured in practice on Friday, I believe.
That's what it was. Yeah. So I had to swap to Devonta Smith, and he doesn't have the flame here, but 20.5 fantasy points, I'll take it. And I only chose him because of the correlation with with Jalen Hurts. I thought, what,
Nice.
my team, not the best projected team, I don't think, so I'll just go with some correlation there, and worked out pretty well. So pretty happy with the way things went last week. Jake, do you have any apologies you want to make with regard to my lineup?
I will never apologize or capitulate or what have you to you, Neil. I will continue to fight for my cage match record. There's really nothing you can say that will break my stoicism on this topic. I could be 0-500. We could do this show for 30 years, and I would never break, especially live on the show.
Yeah, you save it for when you're in the privacy of your own home. No cameras on you.
Exactly. It's between me, my girlfriend, and God when I lose in the cage match.
His girlfriend. All right. Your choice of where you want to go, 1, 2, or 3 here.
I'm going to go second.
So Jake, you are the 101. Do you know what you want to do, Jake?
I do. Well, I have 2 players that I really wanted here. I was just really hoping I would not get stuck with the 3rd pick, because I did temporarily forget that it was an odd week. I'm going to go with Alvin Kamara. I was writing up running backs today, and I sort of concluded that it's Kamara, another guy who I'm sure will be off the board shortly, and then really no one else that I can feel at least strongly about. I think it's a pretty I'll say mediocre running back week in terms of both value and overall upside plays, outside of a very small handful of guys. So I'm really glad to get Kamara first overall here.
Aren't you worried about that Q tag?
He's been playing with a broken hand all year, so I'm really not concerned.
All right, there you go. Kamara against Carolina, just so bad. Just take running backs against Carolina. I guess Javonte Williams didn't really get there last week, but Kamara probably will. All right, Pat, you took the 2nd pick. So who do you like at number 2?
So Kamara was one of mine. The second one was Achane against Buffalo.
Oh.
The splits with 2 are just ridiculous, and I didn't come in here trying to put up like cash game like numbers. We're going for the ceiling.
All right, 6,700.
That was the other running back I was hinting at when I said it's Kamara and someone else who will be drafted here shortly. I really was hoping Achane would make it back to me in round 2. So that's a great pick.
That's can't really argue with that one.
You want to?
I would love to, but I guess I'll have to go. Yeah, what do I want to do then is the question, and I have not figured that out yet. So I'm working on it. You know what? I think I am going to go back to last week's hero. Appears to be the best point per dollar play again this week. The best value play on the slate is Cedric Tillman. Yeah. I'm just going to lock in that value at 4,300.
Yeah.
Jameis Winston just opens everything up, and that it's going to help Cedric. And the role is awesome for Cedric Tillman with no Amari Cooper there. So that is where I'm going.
I was debating Kamara or Tillman for my first overall pick. The value with Tillman is so strong. I really can't believe DraftKings didn't at least get a little bit more aggressive in pricing him up. And I also think the Cleveland Los Angeles Chargers game is really interesting, especially from a tournament perspective. The total isn't very high, but I do see some sneaky shootout potential there. Obviously, we know what the Browns bring to the table. The Chargers have been a lot more pass heavy as of late. I believe, right around a plus 5% P-row over the last 3 weeks. Justin Herbert is 3rd in total pass attempts over the last 3 weeks. If you asked anybody after week 2, week 3, they would have said that's really not in the range of outcomes this year. So, I think that game could go a little under-owned for tournaments, but I also wouldn't be surprised if that was a take that a lot more, shows and sites kind of come around to by the end of the week.
Which kind of happened last week. Like we talked about, obviously you drafted Jameis Winston on this show last week. And at the time, like he was not expected to be very highly owned. I guess he still came in pretty low owned in like the Millie Maker and stuff. I think he was still like 6 or 7% owned, but it did feel like every single show. And of course, part of that is every show I was on, I talked about him because I loved Jameis last week. But I feel like everybody else I talked to was also pretty in on him for the most part, like on those shows. So it seemed like content was very much on him. But yeah, I guess he didn't get as much steam as I might have expected.
Yeah, he really wasn't steamed at all in like low stakes stuff. Like I mean, I grind like the early only low stakes slates on DraftKings pretty hard, and he's only coming in at 5, 6, 7% in those contests, and then in some of the higher stakes single entry stuff I played, he was 15, and some contests pushing 20%. Pretty massive disparity there with Winston's ownership, and I think it just speaks to Neil pumping the price on him.
Yeah, definitely all me. You know how much of an influencer I am.
You are quite the influencer. You don't give yourself enough credit, Neil.
No, I don't think I influence the markets. I'm not moving those numbers too much.
You're on some popular shows,
I suppose. I'm going to go with Kenneth Walker here. He's it's kind of debatable. So some of these there's some nice options here, but Kenneth Walker 7,300. I love how much he's been used in the passing game recently. Love the matchup with the Rams. So all things considered, I just think 7,300 feels a little bit light there. I think he's just a really strong play and just a really good running back. So that's where I'm going to go, and I'll send it back to Pat.
I like it. And you know what? Like Cedric Tillman week 7 too. There was some like projection you had to make to start him. And I know a couple people that ended up with some Cedric Tillman shares the week that Amari was out, and 82% of snaps, followed by last week 90%. And they run a lot of 3 wide receiver sets too. So these Cleveland guys are definitely viable. Also surprised the price is that cheap still on Cedric Tillman, because this next guy is not that cheap. Come on down, Josh Downs.
Actually, I believe Josh Downs is on Sunday Night Football.
Oh, we're doing the main.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah.
We should have clarified that.
We're restricted. We're restricted. Okay.
It is like, that's such an awesome game. So I am very sad.
I got one.
Main slate.
CeeDee Lamb.
We're
spending.
Where do you get your ideas, Pat?
We're spending today. We're spending today.
Pat, unfamiliar with the idea of a salary cap over here.
No. You start up, boys. You start up. CeeDee Lamb. This one, it speaks for itself. You got it.
Best Ball on Call says Neil and Davis biggest market movers. That's funny. Yeah.
Yes, and 100% true.
Damn.
I mean, Davis definitely will move the markets. I don't think. I mean, I do a show with Scott Barrett. Nobody cares what I have to say. Literally, everybody's just like, okay, what? Just waiting, with bated breath on Scott's thoughts on our show. So I'd say he's the market mover of our show, at least. All right, back to Jake. So you start with Alvin Kamara. Now you get back-to-back picks for your second and third round. What do you want to go with here?
Yeah, this is a bit tricky. I love how Johnny Smith is popping in projections as if Jalen Waddle could be down any worse. I mean, Achane's already the wide receiver 2 in that offense, and I was looking at usage last week. Johnny Smith and Jalen Waddle were right there together. I don't think I want to go that route. I'm going to secure some value and also hopefully get vengeance for my tragic 4 p.m. finish last week and grab Lad McConkey. Like I talked about earlier, I think that this Cleveland Los Angeles game could be a bit of a sneaky shootout type of setting. Chargers are throwing a lot more, and obviously all of McConkey's per route metrics are really, really awesome. We just need to see that uptick in volume before he becomes a really strong fantasy asset. So yeah, quite excited about McConkey this week. Beyond that, man, this is a tough slate for value. So I'm going to grab the best value quarterback. I'm going to go with Jameis.
Nice.
Sets me up for a little bit of a game stack, which, again, in these 3-man type formats, you don't really want to go out of your way for. But, to me, there were sort of 2 value quarterbacks that I would have been really happy coming out of this draft with. And Jameis was clearly at the top of this list. I mean, he's only 5,400 after dropping almost 30 DraftKings points last week. I think it really speaks for itself, even if the matchup is, much closer to neutral than obviously Baltimore was in week 8.
Very nice. Very nice. Yeah. I mean, you're kind of stealing my stack here. So that's, don't love that when I have Tillman there, but can't really argue with it.
And I'm loading up on Q tags so that I can steal the
also
juicy
that
Neil Orfield late swap.
I mean, you've seen how well it works to just play, swap onto the best plays. It's not a bad idea.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Pat, Devin Achane, CeeDee Lamb, you have paid up. You have 49.28 left per player in the rest of your lineup. Now you do have tight end defense.
This is why you guys show up, right? This is why you guys show up. Parker Washington, come on down.
Oh, okay. With no
30
Christian Kirk there.
3600.
Yep. All right. I mean, 5150. Yeah, you're not in a bad spot. So even with your pay up, you're not looking too bad with CeeDee Lamb, Devin Achane, and then Parker Washington there. Yeah, honestly, with your two first pay ups, you're not in as bad of a spot as I thought you were going to be. I thought
We're back.
you're going to be
We're
hurting
back.
later on, but yeah, you brought it back down. All right. So now,
Pat, Scott Barrett compared Parker Washington to a poor man's Jahan Dotson. Does that concern you at all? Yeah.
It would concern me if he was on Philly, but
Ah,
I think
there
I
you
think
go.
we're gonna have to throw the ball against Philly this week, being a Jag. And yeah, no Kirk. You got Gabe Davis with the shoulder injury. He left, and I think it's pretty telling that he did not come back when BTJ and Kirk were both out of that game. His re-injury risk obviously super high. Who knows if he ends up playing? He was limited today, but yeah, I still like the Parker Washington 3600. There's another guy around there that I liked as well. So I was between two, but we'll shoot the dart here.
Interesting. All right, so it's back to me. I've got a few players that I'm sort of intrigued by, but I might need a second to figure out who I land on here. Very interesting. All right, I'm going to go with Bijan. He was the other one that I was considering in the last round as far as like top point per dollar running backs. I think Bijan just looks really strong against Dallas. They've been kind of a run funnel this year. 7,400 looks really good. I still have 5,166 left per player. So I have to make my second pick here. I'm debating doing what we said you don't need to do anymore, but let me look around a little bit.
While Neil contemplates his next pick, I will say that my major concern with Bijan Robinson this week is that he's played on just 57% of Atlanta snaps while the team is leading, compared to 75% when the team is trailing or tied. I think he's generally just a guy that you want to target in negative game script. And obviously I'm bringing this up, especially because Neil just selected him and I'm trying to throw him off while he makes his next pick.
Sounds like, I mean, you're saying he's better when he's trailing. Dallas is pretty good, so I think there's a good chance that he's going to be trailing or in neutral game scripts anyway. So nice try, but I am not thrown off. I think I love that. I think that sounds great.
Dallas notorious for never getting blown out.
Perfect. Yeah, never. They never have. They not once.
Yeah.
Do I want this? I'm debating. I might. All right, I'm thinking about it. I'm very close to making my decision, so don't you worry. I'm gonna get there. I'm gonna go
waiting on the Sims to calculate.
Yeah, he's got to simulate the slate 100 times.
I have a very advanced
teams.
process. Yeah, people don't realize I have an extremely advanced process here. You know what? I'm gonna go with Brock Bowers. So Jake and I switching some of our picks back.
Nice.
I was looking at tight end to find value, and then I was like, nope, I'm just going to go with Brock Bowers because he's playing against Cincinnati. I've always loved tight ends against Cincinnati, has always been just a way to print money. So I'm going to continue doing it with Brock Bowers. I still have 5,000 left per player, so not totally out of money here. So I'm feeling okay about that. And I send it back to Pat. You have 5,150 left per player. This is your 4th round pick.
Okay, let's go with the guy because this seems like a good idea, right? Let's go with the guy that averages like 1 yard per carry, Alexander Mattison.
Oh, jeez,
man,
getting the start again this week. I have like next to no Mattison in underdog too. So here's the leverage spot.
5,700. Nice matchup with Cincinnati. So he's going to get the volume. He's got the nice matchup. We've seen him. I think he scored 2 touchdowns in a game already this year, if I'm remembering correctly. I'm not sure if that's right, but. Yeah, I don't love it.
He's been pretty decent for a floor standpoint. He's got 5 games over 10 points, 1 at 9. So pretty decent for floor option here.
By usage, Alexander Mattison is the RB2 over the last month. By production, he's the RB29. So
I believe that.
Which one will we get this week?
Right. Good matchup. So maybe the usage is enough against Cincinnati. We'll find out.
I mean, we could see, the Bengals season has been so disappointing up to this point. Would anyone be shocked if they lost to the Raiders and, if they can maintain some positive game script, Mattison could absolutely get you, 25 DraftKings points. I certainly think that's within the range of outcomes there.
No doubt. No doubt. Jake, it is back to you, and you get back-to-back picks. You have 5,200 left per player with 6 picks left.
Yeah, this is tricky. Beyond Kamara, I still don't have many plays that I love this week. I do want to pay up a bit in at least one of these spots. Let's see. I'm going to grab James Conner because the usage has just been so strong. He's just really not giving up anything in the backfield over the last 2 weeks. 92% of backfield XFP over the full season. Only Kyron Williams and Jonathan Taylor are above 80%. So again, really, really strong usage for Conner, even if the matchup isn't necessarily ideal. We've baked that into our projections, and he's still looking like a top 3, top 5 value in the fantasy points projections right now. So certainly like the Conner pick. I'm not sure how much I love him for tournaments. I guess we'll have to see where ownership ends up coming in there. I think I just want to let the rest of the draft fall to me. And I did have a tight end in mind, so I'm going to grab David Njoku. Njoku without Amari Cooper, with any, decent NFL quarterback under center, is just absolutely crushing. If you look at the last couple years with Flacco, now with Winston, I mean, the target volume should be there. You could pretty easily argue he should be 6,500, even though, again, the matchup isn't great. Sneaky shootout potential here for sure.
All right, so we're doing a full game set here. Jameis with Njoku, Lad McConkey on the bring back for Jake. Really just grasping at straws at this point. I mean, he's just down so bad. He's just like, what can I do? I guess I'll try full game stacks. Maybe if I play everybody from this game, that'll work. I don't know.
Neil, you have game stacked almost every single week.
I know. I do it.
These attacks on my character will not be accepted on this show.
Yeah, that is accurate. I do almost always game stack. All right, Pat, you have a little over 5,000 left per player with 5 picks left.
All right, I'm between positions here. I know that you don't have QB. There's a couple options at QB that I wouldn't mind. And tight end. Neil, you have a tight end yet?
I do. I took Brock Bowers.
All right. You're the man. See, I should have been tracking. This makes me want to roll defense. Oh, man. See, I came in with the plan of the full week slate, like, Jets D for cheap. Like, now
I love the built-in excuse that you've got. It's just great.
And then 5 minutes before game time, like, oh yeah, you have to get into a Halloween outfit. Yeah. I'm doing a full flip outfit.
I always try to throw off my guests before the show just to, get them a little frazzled.
Yeah, you should see the things Neil is saying to me in our DMs before the show. Yeah. It's no wonder I'm drafting so bad. Yeah.
Yeah.
Beyond mind games. Let's go DK Metcalf against the Rams.
Is he back?
It is likely. Okay. I believe McDonald talked about him with optimism.
All right, nice. All right, then it is back to me.
A lot of points in this game. Want some of it. You have K walk, so try to find a little way to maybe get some of those points there for Seattle.
Yep, I hear you. All right, what do I want to do? I don't know. Is the answer.
Beautiful.
All right. So maybe
Neil should go into the slate with 4 players.
Yeah.
And me
That's
and Pat can fill out our rosters, and we can call it good.
All right. I'm going to go to the fantasy points projections and take a look at some of the best point per dollar plays.
He's not kidding.
I'm not kidding at all. That's exactly what I'm doing right now. You know what? I'm going to lock in. Ooh. Yeah, I'm going to lock in the Cardinals defense, 2,600. Allows me to maybe pay up later. I don't know. I don't feel that great about that many plays, so that's just gonna lock in one of the better point per dollar defenses for now. I do need some wide receiver help here. Oh, is he? Let me look at something.
I think the defense pick speaks to one of the trickiest parts about this show, which is that when I'm hand building my lineups, I pick my stack and then I pick my defense so that I can easily figure out how much salary I have left for the remaining players. On this show, we can play around on a second monitor, but it is a little tough to figure out, what's going to be there in terms of defense when it comes back around to you, because you certainly don't want to get stuck with, a disastrous defense because you ran out of salary.
Because you can't really you can't fiddle. You can't go back on plays, which makes it tougher later on.
Yeah, exactly. There have been weeks where I've ended up with teams where on Saturday, Sunday, I'm looking at it and I'm like, this is not ideal, despite my cage match stoicism.
I went with Chris Olave. A little bit concerned with the QB situation, but obviously a top-notch. I mean, we just saw Bo Nix absolutely crush this Panthers defense last week, so you got to think probably the Saints should be able to put up some points here. And Chris Olave, the very clear top receiver there. No Rashid Shaheed there anymore, so should just see a ton of usage in a great spot. Counting on Jake Haener, I guess, this week, who is, by the way, one of the top 5 Jakes on the planet. Unfortunately, Jake, you're pushed out of the top 5. I've told you about all the great Jakes. So there's Jake Bates out there. Haener.
I thought Jake Bates was off the list after what he did to your Vikings.
You are right, yeah. But you're still pretty far down the list. So even though you're moving up, you're pretty far down.
Yeah, we might need an official Jake power rankings on Twitter so that I can
maybe I'll do that.
Defend myself against the other Jakes.
Yeah, no, that's a good idea. I should lay it all out for you so you can talk some shit about people, maybe run a campaign there.
Yeah.
Okay. I am 6 picks in, 3 picks remaining. I have 54.33 left per player. Sending it back to Pat. You have 4 picks left. You get one of them now. You're down to 46.75 left per player, and you still need a quarterback.
It's okay. No panic. We're going real cheap on the defense this week. Give me the Giants at 2,300 against Washington.
Giants against Washington. All right. Don't hate that. Seems good to just take the bottom tier defense. Worked out for me last week. I got 0 points out of them, but it still worked out. Jake, you get back-to-back picks now. You have 47.75 left per player. Need a couple receivers, a flex, and a defense.
Yeah, this is not ideal. Not a lot of plays to get excited about this week, I have to say. We never root for injuries, but it would be nice if injuries could open up some more value as we get a little bit deeper into the week. Because looking at some of these top values, it gets real rough. Yeah,
it's a tough week.
Fast. It is for sure. It's often a tough week on Wednesdays though, so we really can't speak to
also true.
How the slate's going to look on Saturday, but yeah, this isn't. I would not say this is ideal here. I already took Connor. All right, I'll get a wide receiver pick out of the way now. And while Neil would claim that I'm grasping at straws with this pick, this just really speaks to my belief in the Browns offense. I'm going to go with Elijah Moore for the double.
Damn.
Yeah, it's never been more apparent that you're grasping at straws, taking Elijah Moore. But good luck. Good luck with that.
Volume's great for all these Cleveland guys. Again, I think this game is going to end up being pretty underrated for fantasy purposes. Jameis Winston is the quarterback. Anyone could score 30 points when Jameis Winston is the quarterback, as long as you're catching passes.
I wish I could go back and take the Chargers defense now, because that would be just so funny. Because
Jameis
could throw 3 interceptions.
Maybe Neil, maybe I'll take the Chargers defense.
It's not the worst idea. Just cover all bases.
Do you get points for positive speeches?
Ooh,
right, yeah.
That would be. I'd be the runaway favorite if that was the case.
Yeah.
Oh man, this is tough. You guys already took the best defenses too.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with Tennessee. I'll pay up slightly at defense, which I don't love, but they are a top point per dollar option. The New England offense has just been a complete disaster. This offensive line is a joke. I think Drake May certainly has some juice, but it's going to be at least a year before he that really shows up in the win-loss column for New England.
When you're playing with like 0 NFL level talent, offensive linemen or receivers. I mean, I'm sort of talking about there might be some good players there, but just like not the most talent that he's working with his receivers and offensive linemen. Tough situation there for Drake May. So yeah, might be next year. All right, so Jake has 58.50 left per player with a wide receiver and flex left. Pat, you have 54.66 per player left with a quarterback, a tight end, and a flex. What do you want to do with this one?
I am going with Courtland Sutton for 5400 in the flex.
I saw somebody in chat saying Courtland Sutton and Bo Nix would make some sense. So you could do that, but you thinking about it?
Oh, it's in the cards. I can go two different ways. I have salary.
Gotcha.
I have salary for both. So
okay. Oh yeah, it's my pick now. So you got one out of the way. I guess I could come in and take him away from you. So
you can.
If you're thinking about Bo Nix, I mean, he runs a little bit. He's not that expensive. I mean, I could do it. I could. I'll think about it.
You should.
I should. I don't have any stacks right now, which again, you don't need to stack on in a 3-man contest. So I'm telling myself this, by the way. I'm speaking to myself, reminding myself I don't need to force a stack here. Yeah.
Naked Hurts won the Millie, right?
Did it? Or was no Naked Bo Nix won the Millie?
Oh God, that's even worse. I didn't know that.
That
really
Sutton fumbles on the 1. Otherwise, Sutton would have been in that lineup.
Yeah.
That is.
Yep.
That is tough. I was victory lapping Jameis Winston prematurely too, so I probably inadvertently caused the Bo Nix score.
That's right. You were. Yeah.
I think I tweeted. You know, was there anything more obvious than Jameis on a week where Bo Nix was chalk, and they basically canceled each other out in terms of overall value because the scores were the same relative to salary. So yeah, that was tough. I think it's safe to say I'm just never going to tweet again. That's
smart. That I've been telling you for years now, Jake.
A lot of people have tweeting. Actually. You're far from the only one.
There's just not great value on the slate. Like what are we doing here? Why is there so little value? This is painful.
Oh shit.
You know what though? I'm gonna do
Sinister.
the worst quarterback here. I'm not going to take your quarterback. I'm going to go with Brock Bowers' quarterback and just hope that they're able to move the ball because Cincinnati is so bad. So I'm going to go with Gardiner Minchew.
Wow.
At 4,500.
That is the pick of someone who needs to be humbled in the cage. So
I do. Like I'm cocky at this point.
Some justice.
Dude, their Charities just punching the air right now. Whatever charity deal just chose, just like, why?
Here's the thing. That's what I found is it doesn't matter who I pick. I'm just gonna win because I'm a winner. like I can my team can project 20 points worse than Jake's. I'm gonna win anyway. It's just it just has been happening.
This has been proven time and time again.
That's too much.
All right. Now I get another pick here. And I have 11,800 left. And I have wide receiver and flex. So I can pay up at wide receiver to an extent. Ooh, I'm tempted. All right, let me think. Let me think for just 1 second here. Is there anybody who I could take who's a nice value here? Go back to my page here. Because I'm debating going super stars and scrubs with my final 2 picks, but I'm not sure if I actually like it. So I want to double check some of the.
I'm in the process of figuring out something similar, but I'm looking at these other values. I mean,
it's
no
bad.
one wants to take Tyler Boyd, Ray McLeod. Probably not. I mean, yeah, it's not. It's really not good. It's really not good.
It's ugly. It is ugly in terms of value. But screw it. I see a couple that are like borderline playable, so I'm just going to. I think. I'm just going to do it. I'm going to go with Jamar Chase.
Wow.
And just go super scrubby with my final pick. So I have 3,200 left for a wide receiver. It's not going to be pretty, but it makes it work because this game is just going to put up 60 points. Las Vegas going to stick with Cincinnati. Just going to be so much fun in that game. All right. So I have 3,200 left for my final pick. Now, Pat, you have 2 picks left. You have a quarterback and a tight end, 5,500 left per player. Yeah. What do you want to go with here?
Yeah, so I left myself 2 options here. I'm going to go my tight end first. I'm going to go Jake Ferguson.
All right. Jake Ferguson.
Ferg.
So now you have 5,900 left for a quarterback with your next pick, and that works out really well if you're trying to stack up what was suggested in chat. Jake, you have 58.50 left per player, and you have 2 picks to make right now. So you're going to close it out with a wide receiver and a flex. Have you figured out what you want to do?
Yeah, I'm in the process of doing so. There's an expensive wide receiver that I like. The problem is I might have to draft Zach Ertz to make it happen. That's not good.
Targets were there last week.
They were, yeah. The usage on Ertz was really strong. He's just never a guy that I'm very excited to play. I mean, he gives you nothing after the catch. Yeah, this is tough. I can't fit. Oh man. This is a real problem. And I don't think a balanced approach would get me much more here. All right, I'm just going to lock myself into something that's absolutely heinous. I'm going to go Puka Nacua, who is a great value and I think clearly underpriced. And then, man, for my final pick here, this is really bad. It might actually have to be Ertz. I was close to Tucker Kraft, but I took too expensive of a defense because, of course, Cedric Tillman off the board. Trey Tucker
wouldn't you go Goddard and then just pick swap off if Goddard can't go?
That's not a bad idea.
Pat, what are we doing here?
I wouldn't.
I mean, I want it to be fair.
What
you
a
know,
guy.
I want it to be fair.
Yeah, that is a
Sharp
crazy
plays
suggestion.
only.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to do it because I know it would upset Neil the most. I'm going to accept Pat's suggestion, and I'm going to take Dallas Goddard as my flex.
You are correct. I mean, right now I'm feeling like you're teaming up on me. I mean, because Jake was just going to make the wrong pick, and just everybody because I've won so much, you just all want me to lose now. Is that what's going on here?
I mean, I can't let a brother down right there. Like the pick was right there.
Yeah, I mean, it was the right pick.
People turned against the Patriots dynasty pretty quickly.
Yeah, that's exactly how
I'm looking for allies right now.
Exactly.
Man, that's tough.
Pat, this will not be forgotten, by the way.
I appreciate that.
Man, these guys, the allyship.
So my last pick, this leaves me with 5,900. So it leaves me with both quarterback options with Nix or Geno Smith. The thing is, if I go Geno and DK Metcalf doesn't play, Geno's like a shit pick. Like, I don't love his chances of a multi-touchdown game. So it makes me lean Nix. And if Metcalf doesn't play, I could just pick swap off. And that's what I'm going to do. However, if DK does play, I would probably prefer Geno over Nix.
Yeah, it's pretty close, I think, between those two.
I would say so. I mean, the thing with two things with Geno. One is that even with DK Metcalf in the lineup, he hasn't been super efficient, right around like QB 23 in terms of fantasy points per dropback. So he needs a ton of volume to get you there, which is certainly possible. I mean, no team by pass rate over expectation is throwing the ball more than Seattle. The one problem is that after, I believe it was week 6, they said they wanted to go more run heavy. And then we've seen that in their P-Rose, their pass rate over expectation. It's still positive. It's still top 8-ish, but it's fallen from, clearly the highest pass rate in the league to, like I said, closer to top 8, which is a little tricky. They clearly want to get Kenny Walker going. So I think that was definitely the right move going Knicks there.
Yeah, I agreed. I like it. He runs some. Steven says
again, torch too.
Steven suggests for me a tight end, which I had been thinking initially about a wide receiver, but I can go tight end with 3,200 left. So I have 3,200 left for my final pick. And there's
to the shadow realm.
I mean,
there's one that I'm considering here.
There can't be any wide receivers that project better than some of these cheap tight ends in this range.
So Tim Jones is the one that I was thinking about a little bit here. He's 3,100, might have a little bit of a role. Mike Gesicki looks interesting here to me. Man, 8 targets last week. That is a nice roll for Gesicki. So
You
that is
need
my
Higgins
current
to
lean.
sit, though, if it is Gesicki. He turns into their sort of, power slot. It's crazy how it's not a 1-to-1 replacement, but it's pretty close in terms of a lot of those T. Higgins targets going to Gesicki, which is certainly something to keep in mind for DFS Battle Royale as we work our way through the rest of the season, because T. Higgins does God knows what in practice and just, ends up missing games in the most frustrating way imaginable.
Yeah, point per dollar there's not much that is amazing at any position for 3,200 left. So it's not looking that pretty for me, but I'm going to make it work here. What are the odds that T. Higgins sits, do you think? It's a good matchup regardless.
Today, he wasn't going to practice today no matter what. He's like not a Wednesday guy anyways. So it's tough to really tell.
But it's a hamstring, right? So it's a quad. Interesting. It is quad, yeah.
And it was new on Friday practice or Thursday.
He was practicing on a side field today. It didn't count for anything, but he was working with trainers. So
I'd say it's pretty 50-50 right now.
Yeah, that seems like a pretty serious toss up.
I'm willing to risk it because Gesicki's not a 0 even with T. Higgins, and then obviously gets a boost if Higgins is out. So I'm willing to risk it. I'm going to go with Gesicki and leave $100 on the table. All right, so the final thing we have to do is just a review of each of our lineups. I've got mine open, so I'll review mine quickly first. I've just got Gardiner Minchew with Brock Bowers. I've got bringbacks of both Jamar Chase and Mike Gesicki. So I do have a full game stack here. 2 elite running backs in Kenneth Walker and Bijan Robinson. Cedric Tillman there he's going to get all of the points for the Browns this week. I'm pretty sure nobody else from that pass catching group is going to score a single fantasy point. So I'm loving that. Chris Olave going to score all the points for New Orleans. So that's going to feel really good. And then got Cardinals defense against a rookie quarterback. So feeling really good about this lineup.
I do like a lot of the picks. Olave, Cedric Tillman, K-Walk are my 3 favorite that you selected. They were definitely my player pool.
Thank you.
Definitely the spend up for Chase. Do you care if Higgins plays or not?
Chase absolutely. Pick? If Higgins plays, it hurts both Chase and Gesicki. So would much much prefer that Higgins is out. But I think that they're fine. I think that they're fine picks even if T. Higgins plays. It's not the end of the world for my lineup. But obviously going to feel a lot better about it if he sits. All right.
We had when we had Jacob Sanderson on the show, I noted that all I needed to win that week was for all the starting running backs.
It worked out well for you.
I will be using my voodoo magic once again to return T. Higgins to full health. So keep an eye on that. Keep an eye on the full practice tomorrow. That will be devastating to Neil Orfield.
It would be very bad.
I'll take a limited practice tomorrow.
Yeah, that would also be nice. But it's going to be full.
Pat, tell us about your lineup and how do you feel about it?
Yeah, so I went super heavy at the start with Lamb and Achane, but had some cheap picks in my pocket coming into this. Mattison, I absolutely despise Mattison, like complete anti-Mattison drafted the last 2 seasons. You know what? If he gets me 12 points, I'm pretty happy. And they named him the starter again this week. Cincinnati. If you lose to the Pats, you could lose to anyone. And the way they beat him was on the ground. So it's also interesting. You have Bowers too. It kind of got rid of. I was gonna go the Myers route in this offense, but I'm pretty happy with it. I end up with a double in Dallas, but this team just has no run game at all. You bring it in Dalvin Cook, I guess is Dowdle back this week?
He should be. He was sick Sunday night. So I'd be pretty surprised if he was still.
Yeah. It's still so gross there in the ground. So playing them through the air and it's getting close to must-win territory for Dallas. So pretty happy with how this one shaped out. Cheap defense, Giants against Washington. Not too bad in turnovers. I think they're around they're in top 12 for turnovers this year, but the points against is just another thing. The offense can't stay on the field. Probably another thing hurting this defense.
One note for you, Pat, is you have to remember to enter this. I sent you the link on Twitter in DMs. So make sure you enter your lineup between now and start of the games, because obviously we can't do it for you. All right. And then Jake, final lineup to review here. Going back to the Jameis Winston, with a double stack and a bring back here, full on game stacking. How do you feel about your lineup?
Yeah, this is a pretty fun team. At the very least, this is, where I expect to land on a lot of my, DFS tournament lineups. So I think that's pretty fun. There's nothing worse, and I'm sure, Neil, you felt this way too, than when you get away from your cage match plays in tournaments and all of a sudden you're kind of rooting for two different things.
Yeah.
That's never a ton of fun. But I definitely like this team. Like I've said sort of throughout the show, I think the Los Angeles Cleveland game environment could be a lot better for fantasy than the game total implies here. Chargers are passing a lot more. Obviously, Jameis Winston under center for a Browns team that ranks, top 5 or top 8 in plays per game. So pace should be really strong there. And then running backs, I'm very happy with. I thought this was a tough slate for running back. I only really would have been happier if I had gotten Achane over Connor. So shout out to Pat for that very, very sharp pick there. But yeah, Kamara, Connor, feel really strong about that. And then, when I was debating what to do with my final 2 picks, it was basically this, Puka and, Goddard, or, maybe Ertz, maybe Komet, versus say like a Chase Brown and Romeo Dobbs. And I just think I'm getting a lot more, especially ceiling, and really not giving up much in terms of median with Puka Nacua there. I mean, we all know Puka Nacua is an $8,200 player, and he's just not priced like it because he's been so hurt this year. The Rams have been notably upping their plays per game and pass rate with both of those wide receivers healthy. And this should be, a shootout environment. I know, multiple other players from the Seattle side of this game have come off the board. So yeah, I definitely like this team. I think my only regret was maybe spending a bit too much on defense a little early, because that did sort of pigeonhole me into a tougher spot for my last few picks.
Yeah. Reading through chat, I saw Scott asked how much is Khalif for him. He was 3,900, so I couldn't have gone there. Sean suggested Mingo. Just doesn't project that well. I think his role has been kind of reduced as Jalen Coker has taken over along with Xavier Legette. So just, but maybe I guess now with Deontay Johnson out, Mingo could take on more of a role.
Thielen might be back, which I think would be tough. And it's like,
okay,
even if we knew Mingo was going to get a 20% target share, how much is that really worth in a Bryce Young offense, right?
Yeah.
I think I saw Jacob Gibbs, who was tweeting about Jalen Coker, and he was like, he had 78 yards last week. That's like 180 yards in a regular offense.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's a pretty good comparison.
Yeah. All right. So that does it for our lineup.
You guys both go double tight end after you saw what happened to Tyler last week.
That's true. I mean, the thing is, I'm not Tyler. So with all due respect, I'm not Tyler.
Oh, is that the Jefferson quote?
It is.
I'm not Garrett Wilson.
Yeah.
It is pretty funny that Tyler ended up with a double tight end team that didn't work on like the best tight end weekend of all time. National Tight End Day.
Good point. I forgot about that. Yeah, it was National Tight End Week. Every tight end went off except for, David Njoku was actually pretty good. He also landed on Cole Kmet for some reason. Brutal loss there.
Also, I wanted to throw this out there. Do either of you guys think there's anything to the idea that all of these tight ends are reminding their coaches all week that it's National Tight End Day and that they should draw?
You have to think that there might be something to it.
I feel like there could be on National Tight End Day, you just add like +1 fantasy point to every tight end's projection to get the true median. Because I do think there could be something there, and I hate like every narrative.
Yeah, no, I think that it certainly felt like it this week that there was something to it.
No kidding.
I don't know.
The Easter Bunny's real.
Somebody tweeted at me on Sunday. They were like, "How come nobody brought up that it's National Tight?" And I think he was joking, but I wasn't completely sure. But I responded. I was like, "It was brought up on every show I was on. I didn't bring it up because I don't buy into that kind of BS narrative. But somebody brought it up on every show I was on. It's like, I'm not really factoring in. I guess maybe I should have. I don't think that there's been much historical data to suggest that National Tight End Week is like a huge spike, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong about that.
Shouldn't the Sims know this? Shouldn't the Sims be able to take care of this? I mean,
I don't know. I don't know if the people who
to the simulations and
maybe the people who are making Sims are not telling the Sims about National Tight End Week. So maybe that's the issue is people.
There'll be an option. There'll be a checkbox next year for
factor National Tight End Week. Yeah,
I will take this up with SaberSim customer service. We'll get this fixed for next year.
Yeah. All right, so we're done with the drafting. Where else can people, Pat, I know it's in season, a lot of your content was best ball, but I know you're still doing some content, so what do you have
Yes.
going on, and where could
Yeah.
people find you?
Yeah, a few times a week, still streaming at Fantasy Dog Pound on YouTube, doing the Battle Royale content, as well as we have the website and overlay out, bestballoverlay.com, the biggest edge in best ball right now. I know Jake signed up. We got Jake on the team. Neil's still trying to hook you on the team, but yeah, it's been awesome. I'll drop this right now. We just signed Easy DFS. If you guys know Eric, very sharp in the space, and all his draft tools are going to be going on the website pretty soon. So really excited for that, and a whole new look to the overlay coming soon as well.
Yeah, it looks like a great overlay. To be clear, I have not been doing a ton of Battle Royale stuff in general, and it didn't work with another tool that I'm using, so I was trying to figure that all out. But I think it's a great tool. To be clear, I think it's an awesome tool. Does some things that other places don't do, like you can export your own rankings and stuff like that. It's really easy to use the rankings tool, so definitely recommend checking out.
And a quick shout, D-Rap won 3 Dog Bowl tickets in 6 weeks. He signed up. He gave a nice shout on Badge Bro, so shout out to him. He's a really cool dude. Met him in Miami, and as well as last year's Dog Bowl winner just signed up.
Oh, nice.
So
really
very
cool.
Really
awesome.
Sharp people.
It's a fantastic tool. It's something that I use while I'm drafting, and it's an awesome tool. I love like the Battle Royale format. This is my first year really grinding like Battle Royales really hard, and it's been a ton of fun, and the Best Ball overlay tool has been a huge help for me.
And you've been using it, and I know you've been getting into a lot of Battle Royale, Jake, and we can queue up. I know you do some content on Battle Royale. Also, what else do you have coming up this week?
Yeah, so I'll be helping Scott Barrett out with his weekly slate breakdown. You can also catch me on Cashing Points with Grant Barfield and Hilo every Friday at 7 p.m. And then what Neil was hinting at 8:30 p.m. Eastern time on Fridays, me and Ryan Heath do the Underdog Drafter Party, which is a great time. We draft teams, talk about our favorite scroll down options, everything Battle Royale related. Can also ask us any pressing questions you guys have on the upcoming slate. So that's been a ton of fun. We crack a few beers, make some fun jokes about the slate, draft some teams. It's always a great time. And I hope to have either of you guys on as guests here soon. We have been looking to add a third person here occasionally. So maybe we could talk about that a little bit post show. But it's been a ton of fun, and Battle Royale's been going quite well for me and Ryan, and in part thanks to the great Best Ball overlay tool. I know last week didn't go quite as well, but I believe prior to last week we had 4 weeks in a row where one of us had a top 5 finish in some of the smaller like single entry tournaments. So it's been a lot of fun. I've been loving Battle Royale.
Very nice, very nice. Taking advantage of the tools, doing well there.
For sure.
And I have a lot of stuff coming up, but the most immediate is tomorrow. I will be posting my Thursday Night Football breakdown at Fantasy Points. I do it for every major showdown slate, Thursday, Sunday, and Monday. So that'll be coming up, published on Fantasy Points tomorrow. And of course, also I'm going to be streaming twice tomorrow about the Thursday Night Football game. I'll be breaking it down with Adam Ship My Money Share in the morning at noon Eastern, and then I'll be back again about 85 minutes prior to lock after inactives come out tomorrow night. So check out the Flannelverse YouTube if you want to get my video breakdowns of the slate. Both of those are going to be live shows.
Those shows have been a huge help to me. I'm really good at spring football showdowns. I am terrible at NFL showdowns, but I've been reading Neil's articles. I've been watching his shows. I actually won a DraftKings main event ticket on Monday night with a very gross Najee Harris lineup. But yeah, I will. I'm very excited for December 29th because I believe that's a $10 million prize pool tournament. So I believe
the $2 million to first $3,000. You got tickets to that?
Yeah.
Oh, very cool.
I know. I'm very hyped about that. And like I said, legit could not have done it without Neil's content because I, for whatever reason, am just horrendous at these NFL showdown slates. But Neil's bringing me back. He's pumping that ROI up. Appreciate that. Yeah.
That is awesome to hear. All right. That's going to do it for this show. Go check out Pat at Fantasy Dog Pound. Is it at Fantasy Dog Pound on Twitter, Pat? Or
yes.
At Fantasy Dog Pound on Twitter. Of course, Jake, at Jake Tribbey on Twitter. I'm at PlayerQDFS. This has been a lot of fun. Here's hoping I get my 6th win. Oh man, I am the eldest boy. That is it's a great hat. It's a great hat. Good costume. Good costume. All right. Thank you. Thank you all very much. I hope you appreciated our really well thought out Halloween costumes tonight and enjoyed the show. We will be back. Jake and I will be back next Wednesday with another guest. Thanks for joining us, and we will catch you then.
What?
Why are you shaking your head?
You're welcome.